What's up, guys? I gotta ask you a question. When you're trying to make a decision, do you go purely off of facts? Do you go off your gut? Or do you go off some kind of happy medium place where it's part instinct, part facts? I don't know. I feel like you have to have enough information that you can make a good decision. But I think on some level, there's some kind of intuition that comes from maybe a higher place, maybe just a wiser place. I don't know, but I feel like you kind of know, or you have a gut reaction, and that's valid. It's just as valid as the facts. And maybe your gut reaction, your intuition, is really just your mind processing all the nuances of information and arriving at a conclusion that's taking into account not just the facts that you're given, but everything. I've always been led well when I listen to my instinct. My intuition about things, people, situations always manifested as the correct, ultimately correct answer, even when I couldn't explain it. Like, if you meet people, you may get a feeling about them. You may not know why. It's not something that they said, maybe not even how they said it. Maybe it's just something else. And like, it could be just a vibe that they're giving off that you can't even really put into words, but it affects you and you get a feeling from it. And it's like your instinct, that part of your mind that can interpret information that isn't just surface. That part is like very tuned in, and I think it's especially tuned in to things that have something to do with your safety or your survival. That's why when people are off, it's like a red flag, like bells go off and you're like, wait a minute, there's something off about this person. There's something off about them. But they know how to like behave, they know how to say the right thing, yet you don't feel quite right. You don't know why. But then stuff plays itself out and you're like, oh, yeah, that's why. That's exactly why I had that reaction. I'm so glad I have my intuition. I'm so glad, because my intuition is keeping me alive. It's saving me from the weirdos. I have, but I also have, like, besides that, I also have feelings about, like, business and relationships, because relationships are individual, but then you may have a relationship with a business or an institution that you work for or something, and you have to have the same kind of feeling about what that vibe, the overall vibe of that place is. And I feel like it's the same. Like, you get a vibe from a business or a company the same way you get a vibe from an individual. You can feel it. Like, there's something about it that either resonates with you and it's on the right track, or it's off. Something's off and it doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel right. And it's your instinct telling you, hey, maybe this isn't healthy, or maybe this isn't in alignment. Maybe not just healthy, maybe it's got nothing to do with health, but maybe it's just not in alignment with what you really want. So that's kind of where I am right now with my book. The draft is done. I'm looking for a good editor. I would prefer an LGBT editor, because I feel like they would have, not only the great education, skills, background as an editor, but then they would also have that emotional and experiential wisdom to draw from, so that it could help maybe guide the characters, or maybe they have something to go on, as well as just the basics of copy editing. So I was looking for an editor, and I came across this website, and it was an LGBT specific publishing company, and they said, well, we don't offer those services, but you can submit, if you have a draft, you can submit it to us, and we'll look at it, and if we accept you and we want to work with you, then of course we'll provide some of our editing services. But I mean, it's a business, right? A publishing company is a business. If they want to publish you, they want full rights to your book. They want everything. They want your full rights to it. So that was something that I wasn't 100% sure I wanted to do, to be honest. I think that was the model for many years. That's been the model for novelists, is to find a good publisher that will give you a nice advance, and then eventually royalties as well. And that was kind of how things were done. But that was then, and this is now. We're here in the world of social media. We're living in the world where an individual can self-publish and basically cut out the middleman. Like, a publisher and their role is part promotion. They have connections. They're essentially giving you an advance, so there's a monetary aspect that some writers want, right? They want that advance of money, so they get the reward for the work, and then they're hoping to get royalties down the road. I don't know, part of me feels like maybe that's an outdated model, or maybe it's a model that isn't in alignment with what I want. Scorpion Martini is my first novel, and a lot of first novels don't get a lot of respect from publishers because it's a gamble. You're an author, but you haven't really proven yourself. You don't have a lot of background. You don't have a lot of proof that you know what you're doing, or that what you're doing is worthy to them. So they kind of have to go off of what you've written and feel like, okay, well, he knows how to write, it's compelling enough that it holds our interest. Are we willing to take a gamble on a no-name author? And, from a business standpoint, that wouldn't be the safest bet. And to be honest with you, it really wouldn't be the safest bet, because if they have like proof that this author has a following of people, that this author has a lot of influence and potential sales available already, then it makes sense. Okay, maybe we can take a gamble on this person. Or maybe this author somehow gets famous, like they date the right person, or they get in the news, or something happens and they get like, all of a sudden they're famous and they have this like massive exposure, like fucking Ellen DeGeneres invites you on her fucking show. Yeah, that's massive exposure. If you have that much exposure, then any fucking publisher is gonna pick you up in a heartbeat, because you've just been on the fucking Ellen DeGeneres show. People know your name. They've seen you before. You're recognizable. That's a big deal. But if you're just a no-name nobody, you don't have a following, then it's a big gamble. And a lot of publishers don't want to take a big gamble. I mean, they want to find new talent. They're kind of torn. Yeah, they want to find new talent. They want to find the next up-and-coming thing. They want to be, the leading edge. They want to be like finding that nice gem that they can bring into the fold and make some good money on. But it's always kind of a gamble, and nobody wants to gamble on something that's iffy. you know? You just want something that you can back, that you have good reason to back. And a publisher who's putting their money on the line, they need to know that you can execute and that you've got what it takes to put money back in their pocket. So that's why I'm a little hesitant to go the traditional route. I think maybe the old model isn't the one that I'm going to follow right now, not for this book. I think Scorpion Martini is going to be one of those things that has to be sort of a grassroots, up and coming, word of mouth kind of book. Like, it kind of has to just get that momentum going and that social proof and discussion and recommendation. It just has to sort of grow organically, because it doesn't have the leverage of me being already famous, you know? So do I really want to trade all these years that I've been working on it for, a relatively small amount of money up front, and then give up all my rights to it? This thing is not just going to be, one book and that's it. Like, this is going to become, guaranteed, this is going to become a film. There's somebody in Hollywood or some independent film maker will want to take this and run with this and turn it into a film. I guarantee it. So do I really want to give that up? No, I don't. I see the bigger picture. I already know its potential. So that's why, when I'm talking about instinct, that's what I felt. I was reading this email, and then I was reading the website about the publisher and the submissions and everything. And I was reviewing what that would entail, and I'm like, I got that feeling. Because the logic is, well, if you're going to get money for it, that's great. Someone is paying you for it. Why wouldn't you take it? Because I see the bigger picture. Because it's not even in alignment with what I want beyond just a paycheck that's maybe, a year's salary. If, first novel, probably not even what I make in a year. I want to be able to hold true to my alignment, not just financially, but what if I give this to a publisher and they fucking suck at it? They suck at promoting it. They don't know their right audience. They don't have the right targeting, marketing, all of this. And now I've given up control, so I basically can't do anything. I can't control the artwork. I can't control how they market it, who they market it to. I've basically just given up everything and trusted them to market it. But I don't think that they necessarily would know the demographic. Because look, I have lesbian characters in the book, but that doesn't mean that my audience is identified as lesbian. You know what I mean? That's a very narrow way of marketing it, and it's not gonna work. I think the lesbian demographic is a small part of the demographic. I don't think it encompasses everything. And it's kind of very old school way of saying, well, it has lesbian characters, so then only lesbians are gonna want to read it. No. I mean, obviously not. Look at the L Word. Look at Orange is the New Black. Lesbian characters are interesting just because of their character. And it's you don't have to identify as lesbian to enjoy it. You don't have to identify as a lesbian to find their dynamic, whether it's, a romantic dynamic, a friendship dynamic, an enemy dynamic. Like, you can appreciate it all. You don't have to identify with them's, you know, their gender or their sexuality. That's a very old school way of looking at it. Oh, this has LGBT characters, so we're only going to market to LGBT people. Mm-mm. No, not with this one. This one's for women specifically, I think, more than men. But it's not for women it's for women of all identifications. This is for women that don't even want to like label themselves. They just appreciate the characters. It's not for a very narrow demographic. So, instinct, logic, facts, intuition, these are all really interesting things. And I'm sure I'll have more to talk about in the future.